Peter Beats here from Pop Turner, speaking to Evan Rein about Under the Bridge, which is premiering on Hulu April 17th. Welcome to the show, man. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here.
It's exciting to chat. It's exciting because, the life of an actor is, you audition, you book it, you film it, you wrap, and then you wait. And,
Yeah.
it's finally coming out. Like, is it starting to hit you that people are going to be able to see what you worked on?
Yeah, I mean barely. Like the show premieres in a week and it's just sinking in now that it's actually gonna be seen by people, which is great. Like I'm excited about it, but it's like, yeah, I feel like I just haven't had time to even like acknowledge the fact that it's actually gonna happen very
Yeah.
soon.
No, 100%. Every audition process is different depending on the role, depending on, what like it's different kind of paths and journeys. What was this audition process like specifically for you? Did you audition for one character, like multiple characters? Like I'm curious about that.
Yeah, it was like just about any other self-tape audition. It wasn't one that I was expecting to book. I never saw myself playing a police officer, so I was surprised to actually have booked it. But yeah, the audition was pretty typical. I know some of the dialogue that I auditioned with ended up being shifted around. It wasn't actually used in the final
Mhm.
script. But it was like, yeah, the gist of the character was still there.
What's the research process like though, knowing that it's based on true events? Like I'm just curious about that because you can go both routes, right? You can really dive in and learn about it, or you can maybe leave it alone. Like I'm just curious, what's that kind of mindset for you?
Yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, all of the events that happen in the story are, they're out in the public.
Yeah.
The series is based on the book of the same name, Under the Bridge, written
Mhm.
by Rebecca Godfrey. So I picked up the book, and I did some research, like specifically to the story, but I did start to find that there were little subtle differences between what was written in the book versus what was written in the show. So I did kind of like diverge away from that, just so I didn't have to compartmentalize what was written in the book versus what's written for the show. So I kind of focused my energy just on what was presented to me in the episodic script, and then anything I could learn in terms of what it's like to be a police officer in Canada, especially during
Yeah.
that time. So that a lot of my research kind of went into more of just focusing on the character, what was that I was hired to play.
Absolutely. In a lot of ways, from a storytelling acting perspective, there's a lot happen. There's a lot that happens before you go to camera on a show. So in a lot of ways, there's the before filming and after filming in terms of kind of a journey from a storytelling acting perspective. For you specifically, and you can answer this specifically with this project, did it feel like two separate journeys from a storytelling acting perspective, like before filming and after filming, or did it feel like one kind of big journey with multiple steps?
I'm not sure if it felt, yeah, I never felt like there was two divergent pathways. It all
Yeah.
felt like it was pretty cohesive.
And went to one
Um,
kind of goal of like film, like making a show. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, nothing comes to mind specifically. It seems to me, and I don't, let me know if this answers your question, but it just seemed like I've never worked on a show where the creator and the showrunner were so present
Mm-hmm.
and so involved and so personable
Mm-hmm.
and so respectful as well. So it felt like one cohesive unit just working towards the same goal. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Does that kind
Yeah,
of
absolutely. No, because
answer? Yeah.
I feel like depending on a lot of things like you brought up, right? Like who you're working with, what the content is, there's so much that happens and can change before going to camera. So I feel
Oh, I
like I've
see.
had people talking about like, working on something, doing like table reads and reading the scripts and preparation, and then they go to camera and it's a little different. Something shift and like the mindset's different
Oh,
a
I
little bit.
see.
So it felt
Right.
like kind of two things. But at the end of the day, like
Uh,
you said, it is kind of one big storytelling journey.
Totally. And I think a lot of that is thanks to the writing.
Yeah.
The show's written so well.
Mhm.
And so I think that really helped keep the show cohesive
Mhm.
and working towards a common goal. And it makes my job easy too as an act. Like when the writing and the storytelling is so good,
Mhm.
I think that helps all the aspects of making a TV series or any kind of on-screen storytelling really really jive.
it's going to drop on Hulu in the States April 17th, kind of weekly drops of episodes. Then in May, it's going to be available in Canada on Disney Plus, and then other countries are going to be able to see it. What do you think about this whole week to week traditional drops versus the binge watching drops? This is a debate that I feel like people are going to have forever. I
Yeah.
think there's a world for both of them. There
Uh-huh.
is something cool about the dinner table conversations, like waiting for a new episode, right, Evan?
Totally. I am 100%. I think that's more my vein too. Like I'm not just my personal style. I'm not one to binge TV shows.
Yep.
I like small bites. I've got such a small appetite for yeah, for even just like sitting still for any long period of time. So I think, yeah, and I kind of like that old school, like, what's going to happen next and like waiting in anticipation what the next episode is going to bring. And
Yep.
yeah, having those dinner table conversations and those conversations at the water cooler, like around the office. Like, I think that's something kind of
The
old
Office
school
too.
and like
Did you catch last night's episode? Yeah, like before going to a
totally,
board meeting.
because we all know there's those people like when a show gets released in its entirety, there's going to be those few guys that just like watch the entire series and then you feel it, and then no one wants to spoil it for the people who hasn't seen it. So I like that kind of like chunk by
I
chunk
did you
journey
ever
for everyone.
did you watch or any of your friends watch Game of Thrones?
I'm probably like one of five people on planet Earth that hasn't seen it.
Well, I mean, just a funny story. There was obviously like an event that happened in one like early on in like the early seasons that was like a mind blowing, like, oh my God, what just happened event. And I remember like it airs on Sundays in HBO, and then we had class on Monday morning at like 8 a.m. And
Yeah.
one of my friends kind of came in like like a little late and like is like really kind of like disheveled. And I
Oh,
was like, what's going on? He's like, oh man, Game of Thrones like messed me up last night.
oh my God, just wrecked him. I mean, I do remember like I remember when that show was still airing and people around me were watching it, and I witnessed like different moments of people just yeah, personally being torn apart and just like minds being blown, and I'm just like
Well, there
walking
was like
around.
that whole thing, like it's online, everyone knows about it, even if you don't watch Game of Thrones, the whole red wedding, right? There was like a whole wedding that happened in Game of Thrones that just like ended up a lot of favorite characters, were not there in next episodes. That's all I'm
Oh
gonna
my
say.
gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Well, now I don't have to watch the series. Now I know what happened.
spoil it for you. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I've got the memory of a goldfish, so don't worry. It's gonna be gone tomorrow.
um, I feel like this is a cool question to ask you because if you talk to anyone that you worked with on your cast or even crew, everyone's going to have different answers because your stuff is different than someone else's stuff and like who you work with and your days. What would you say the overall pace was for you specifically working on Under the Bridge? Was it kind of like some days quicker pace days than and then some days were like slower? Was there kind of an overall kind of consistent pace? Like, I'm just curious about that for your stuff specifically.
Yeah, it felt like a mixed bag,
Yeah.
and I think that's true of like most projects. There were definitely times where we were under the gun and had to wrap up at a certain hour, especially working with younger actors who
Yep.
I think the rules are different for how long they can work in a day. So it did, yeah, I saw some of that, but generally it felt like the atmosphere and the pace was just consistent. It felt like it was like one of the best sets I've worked on. It was like it felt really organized, from my end, anyways. I'm sure other people have different stories, but it felt to me really organized and again, just the story, which, yeah, so much sense of respect that it all felt like we were working on something special. So I think everyone tends to yeah come with their A game when they know that the story is so special.
100%. And it's going to be, premiering on Hulu April 17th, 2 episodes, and then weekly drops after that. And then, like we said, in other countries, including Canada, in May on Disney Plus. Evan, so great chatting with you. Thank you so much for your time, man.
Thanks for having me. And it's amazing. I'm learning something as you're saying that. I've been trying to find out when it's going to drop in Canada. Did you
In
see a
May, in
specific
May,
date in
in
May?
May,
Did they just say May?
in May, well,
Okay,
May, May 8th,
May
I
8th.
believe.
Okay,
Yes, it will be in Canada in May.
Okay, okay, that's what we're gonna go with. Yeah.
It's not a secret.
there.
Like, I got the
Yeah.
press release was sent out. Like
Oh,
it's
great, great,
yes.
good. That's good to know. Yeah, I did not know. I just assumed it was gonna be like around the world on April 17th, but I'm slowly learning details as
Oh,
as I go
absolutely.
too. So.
But again, thanks so much. And your Instagram account is the best way to keep up to date with everything, right?
Yep, yeah, I'm most active on there of all the social medias. So yeah, I'm at Evan Rein. Yeah, you can find me on there.
Awesome. Well, this has been Pop Turner, youtube.com/Pop Turner for previous episodes. Until next time, this is Evan Rein, who you can catch in Under the Bridge, premiering on Hulu April 17th, and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.